Okay, welcome to another video. What we're going to do today is give some final thoughts on openSUSE Leap 15.2. So I've been using it for about 5 days now since I've done the first impressions video. I'll chuck a link up there if you haven't watched that one yet. All we did in our first impressions video is we run through the installer and chose the KDE Desktop environment and then set it up to use as a daily driver for the next few days. So what we're going to do today is talk about my time with it and how I found it to use as an actual daily driver. So a quick word on how I actually review a distro if I'm doing a full review. What I'll do is I'll set it all up in my first impressions video and then I'll use that distro and only that distro for the next 4 or 5ish days, and then we'll come back with a full review. That way you get to know what it's actually like to use in a real world as opposed to me poking around in a VM and not really using it apart from that video. So we're going to start with something that I skipped over a little bit in the first impressions video. So we went through the installer and I was very impressed with the installer, and I said how it might be one of my favourite sort of GUI installers. It's no longer a might, this is definitely my favourite GUI installer. So we talked about how good the sort of software selection part of it was, but there's a bit more that you can do with that I didn't quite realise at first. So we're going to choose generic desktop here and just run it through, go next. We'll have to quickly set our user accounts and stuff. So it lets you control a lot more of the packages that you want to install in each of the software pattern selections, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, it's going to tell us we've got a dictionary password again, that's fine. Okay, here we are. So in the first video I talked about how it might take a lot longer for certain people depending on the network connection because it's going to be downloading some packages. It doesn't really download a lot of packages at all. So if you go into the software bit and read this part here, it will tell you just how much is being downloaded from a remote repository. So at the moment we're only downloading 87 megabytes, and the size of the packages to install is only 2.9 gig at the moment because we've chosen the generic desktop install basically. So if we click software now, I was very impressed with this part, and we went through all of this and sort of had a look at what you can install and what you can't like take away before you get to your actual freshly installed system. But there's a little details button here, and clicking that will then open up a new window, will give you a bit more control over the packages in each of these patterns. So let's choose something. Let's go for the XFCE desktop environment, right? So let's check mark that, and then what that's going to do is give you Mozilla Network Manager, Light DM, GTK Greeter, and basically everything that you need to get sort of an up and running XFCE setup. But then you'll notice there's a lot of stuff that's not check marked, and then you can go through that and then check mark boxes that you think that you might want, and then you can take things away. And I thought that was very cool, and I didn't realise it was that granular in how much you could actually control it before you even get into your system. So let's have a little look. We'll do this install because I want to show you something towards the end of a little couple of minor complaints that I did notice throughout my time with it. So let's say we don't want to use Mozilla as our default web browser, so we've unchecked that, and let's say we don't want, there we go, so let's say we don't want, no, we're going to want that. Let's say we don't want Pigeon, the instant messenger, so we can get rid of that. And let's say we don't want Remina either, which is the remote desktop. And let's say we do want, for example, let's get a nice little plugin. Let's get, what one should we get? Let's get Clipman. There we go. Is there anything else? Right, we're going to leave it like that, and then we're going to click accept, and it's going to tell you the packages now that it's going to install with the automatic changes there. Then you're going to click continue, and now it's going to reevaluate the package selection and tell you how much now is being installed. So that's now took it from 2.7 gig to 4.4 gig, and the download is pretty much exactly the same. So I thought that was very cool, and also we did mention in the first impressions video the fact that you can sort of change a lot of this as well, like your SSH service and things like that. So we're going to install that now while we talk about the rest of the stuff that I've encountered throughout my time with it and how much I've actually enjoyed it. Right, we're going to let that do its business. It's going to take quite a while, so I'll probably pause at some point and let that finish off, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, starting off with just Yest. So I think this tool is brilliant, and I've not really spent too much time with it up until now. And I made a challenge of myself not to use the terminal for a lot of the stuff that you can do in here. So even things like user group management is very easy to do in here. So a new user might appreciate this more than sort of having to use a terminal command to manage users and put them in groups and things like that. So it's going to take a little second to just read the default system settings, so we'll let it do that. But while it's doing that, you can see there's a whole lot more stuff that you can do here. Even the system snapshots, we'll show you that in a bit more depth because we took a few snapshots as well. So let's minimize that now. So as you can see there, we've chucked a load of group Tyler in the group for the VBox stuff and things like that. So if you go to groups and go onto your name here or your user and click edit, you'll see there's a list of all these things here and these different groups. If you just check that box, it will then automatically apply it and add you to them user groups. You can reboot, and then that's all well and done, and you don't have to know any commands to do that. That will do it for you all within that window, and I think that's very handy, especially if you're kind of a bit sort of adverse to using a command line for anything. So let's jump back into Yest now. So you've got the security center here where you can configure your security settings. I didn't touch this too much, but I'm going to show you how it all works very quickly. Things will be lagging a little bit because we are doing that virtual machine install in this VM there. So like you can see here, you can have a look for always generate your system logs for cron scripts, and you can enable and disable things, and there's a little help box there that will tell you a bit more about it. So the magic sysrec keys, for example, and then again it's very easy just to configure stuff, and then there's a little X there to tell you what's enabled and what's disabled, and then if you go through here, there's a few more little settings there that you can do. And again, all of this just makes it a whole lot easier for someone who's not used to using a terminal and having it all within one window. Same with your firewall, you can configure your firewall for allow and disallow and stuff like that. And there you go. Very simple, just chuck something over there, bring it back. Ah! So we had SSH there, let's get that back. SSH, add, and then there, that's how easy it is just to add that port, and it's now allowed, and then SSH will work as you would expect it. So we're not going to apply any of those settings. Reliable, all changes will be lost. Yes, that's fine. And there's a whole lot more that you can do in here that I think if you spent a bit of time with it, you'd really appreciate just how much you can do within the Yest Control Center. I was saying it wrong in the first video as well. I was using the acronym yet another software tool, but it's actually yet another setup tool. No one's corrected me on that one yet, so I'll take that as a little win. So let's get out of that now. So the way I've used my computer, I've used it for everything. So we've recorded a podcast with it, we've played all my games, we've edited videos and done captures with OBS, we've edited a few images, we've used LibreOffice to do a lot of sort of writing of documents and review notes and everything like that. There will be a written review of this in the next couple of days as well. I've almost finished that. So package selection wise has been absolutely brilliant, to be fair. There was a lot more packages included in the actual repos than I realised. I thought there was going to be a whole lot of just sort of manually adding things to get this how I wanted it to work, but everything that I wanted to use was all included. Lutris, for example, Steam was all there, even OVMF, which is something that I use to get virtual machines working with EFI, so that's all included there. That was very easy to install, so there's no complaints whatsoever with the package selection side of things. There is a complaint with the Flatpak stuff that we'll talk about once this virtual machine has finished. So it's got a little while, so we will pause it in a moment just so I can walk you through that and how you can fix it. So we'll leave that minimized at the moment, so we don't need to worry about that quite at the moment. Update wise, I've done a lot of it just through the terminal with Zipper, but then also the KDE version of course comes with Discover software, and then you can just install your updates like that. So we've got a few to get actually. What have we got? We've got Chromium, VLC, so we're going to do that now. So you'd be used to the updates because most of you have probably used KDE before in the Discover software store, so that's nothing exciting. Let's go to install, and now that's going to install our updates for us. So let's get out of that. So one thing that I did have to do was enable the Pacman repos, because without that you'll find that a lot of the videos and stuff that you want to watch on YouTube will return this error because of the codecs not being installed correctly. It's a very simple fix though. Someone mentioned it in the comments of the last video, how to do it. I just done it by copying a couple of commands from the openSUSE website. So we'll jump into openSUSE now and I'll show you what we did. There we go. So if we go to this page here, the additional package repositories, scroll down, and then there'll be a list of sort of commands that you enter into the terminal using Zipper, and then that will change your repos over to the Pacman one, which is what I did, and then everything worked as you'd expect it to after that. So all you have to do is, whether you're on Tumbleweed or Leap, choose whichever one you're on, copy that command into your terminal with sudo, hit enter, and then after that do the little dup there, and then that will switch the changing of the packages over to that repo, and then everything will work as you'd expect it to basically. It would have been nice for there to be like a really obvious checkmark box in the installer for something like that, but I understand due to licensing issues and stuff like that, that's probably why that's not included out of the box. But once that was done, I had no issues with anything else. Everything worked as is. I think someone did mention to me the Flatpak version of Firefox, you might not have that same issue, so you could probably avoid using those repos if you really wanted to, but I'm not too fussed about that, so we used that. So what I'm going to do now is pause this video, and then we're going to come back once this virtual machine's fully installed, and I can show you a couple of more things that I mean, especially with the Flatpak stuff. Okay, so here we are in our XFCE desktop setup. I have had to quickly install Firefox because what I want to show you we're going to need internet access for. So very quickly just talk about how they've set up XFCE here. It's quite a nice look. So it's a standard kind of panel at the bottom, whisker menu to the left, and of course you have your workspace switcher and system tray and things like that. Appearance wise, I do believe it's Greybird but with a little twist, so it's Greybird, Geeko, Dark and Light. So let's see what the dark version looks like very quickly. Let's go into Window Manager and just switch that over to Greybird Dark as well. There we go. Quite a nice little looking theme there, and icon wise we have the elementary stuff, Adwaita and all of that good stuff, and openSUSE XFCE. We're not going to worry about that too much because I mainly just want to show you a couple of things to do with the Pacman repos now and how that actually works, and of course the FlatHub repository issue that is present. So let's jump into Firefox. Any minute now. Of course we're in a virtual machine, so it's not as quick as running on an actual bare metal install. Okay, so here we are. Let's very quickly show you how the switching of Pacman repos does work. So what we're going to do is just type in Pacman repo openSUSE. So I'm sure you could probably do this in Yest as well, but I found it very simple just to copy a couple of commands here and do it with Zipper. Okay, so as you see here, we've got a few options. So for all of Pacman, or you for Tumbleweed or Leap, and then you've also got only the essentials. I went just for using all of Pacman, and this is how we did it. So very simple. We're going to copy over this command here, which is the one for Leap 15.2. If you're on Tumbleweed, you'll use that command up there. We're going to open up a terminal, and let's just zoom in a bit so we can see what's what. What is the zoom in control for this? I don't know. Let's have a look. View. Zoom in. We did press Control++. There we go. Okay, cool. So we've copied that command over, and we're going to copy it into this terminal now. You will need to use sudo though. So go sudo, copy that command, hit enter. It's going to ask you for your root password. Okay, so that part's now done. So what we're going to do now is go down to Zupper DUP, and we're going to choose this one again, all of Pacman, because we use the all of Pacman one in here. So let's copy that over for all of Pacman, and you will need sudo again for this command. So type in sudo, hit enter, and there you go. Now that's what that's going to do is ask you if you want to trust this key. We're going to press A for always. Right, it's retrieving the repository metadata for Pacman. And there we go. So as you can see, this is a list of packages that are going to change vendor. So it's going to be things like GStreamer plugins and codecs and things like that. So we're going to go for yes. And it's a very quick process. It won't take too long at all. And then what that's going to do is swap it over to the Pacman repos, and then you won't have any issues for things like codecs for Firefox playing certain videos on YouTube and other media and stuff like that. So a lot of you could probably get away with not doing that if you're not too fussed about that, but I found that quite an essential thing to have to do to use this distro how I like to use most other distros. So while that's doing that, let's jump into the FlatHub website. So this is a very minor complaint, but I do think it's something that shouldn't have made it into a final release. And someone told me that it wasn't actually present in the beta, so I'm confused as to why it is in this stable release. So what we're going to do is copy this command over to add the FlatHub repo. As you can see now, that has stopped, and it will require a restart to benefit from. So what we're going to do now is copy that command over for FlatHub. Oh, it appears that Flatpak's not installed in this base version of XFCE. It is installed in the XFCE, KDE and GNOME version. So what we're going to do then, the error might not even be present in here. And also you see here you get CNF Flatpak, that stands for command not found. So if you wanted to do command not found and then type in Flatpak, that will tell you how you can sort of remedy that, and of course it's going to be a sudo zipper Flatpak. So we're going to do that now. And this might make me look really silly and not have the error that we did encounter on KDE and GNOME, but hopefully not. So out of the box, the other two desktops did include it, and I've tried it on both because I briefly checked out GNOME while I was here as well, which of course is version 3.34. Okay, that's installed. Let's see if that error persists on this version as well then. Yes. Right, so it's quite an easy fix, and it kind of tells you what you need to do within the terminal window. But I have had some comments from people, mainly on Twitter. Someone mentioned that this did annoy them and they weren't sure what's going on. Very easy fix. So as you can see there, it says while opening the repository, which is in var lib flatpak repo, no such file or directory. So if we just go into var and lib, cd var lib, right, we're going to do an ls, right, and as you can see we've got the folder flatpak there. So we're just going to remove it, and we're going to be a bit cheeky and just do rmrf. So we're going to go sudo rm-rf flatpak, and now we're going to hit enter, and that's going to remove that folder. So as you can see now, that folder is no longer there. We're now going to do the same command to add the FlatHub repo. Just going to ask you for your password. Bang, that's done. So what you're going to do, what you'll be able to do now is install Flatpaks. Obviously you might need to do a restart. So if we do an ls now, you'll see that the Flatpak folder is there. So if we go into the Flatpak folder, and if we also go into repo and then do an ls, you can see there it's got the trusted keys for FlatHub repository. So that'll all work as intended. Again, a very minor complaint, but I'm not quite sure how that managed to make its way into a final release. Let's get out of here now, and we'll talk about one or two more things, and then we'll close up with some final thoughts about my time spent with openSUSE 15.2. So let's get out of this virtual machine. Okay, so before I give my closing thoughts on openSUSE Leap and just openSUSE in general, there's a couple more things that I want to show you. One of them being the OneClick Install. So as you can see here, we have Kvantum Manager. However, that wasn't actually available for me to install in the repo. So what we did was, and it was very simple, we went onto Firefox, and then we went onto the openSUSE software page, but I think I've got it saved in the history. So we're just going to type in Kvantum, and we're going to jump to here. So at the moment, from what I can tell, there is no sort of official ready to go package. There is an experimental package for Leap from KDE Extra, but I use one of these community packages here which does offer the OneClick Install, which I actually found very useful, and again it's a testament to how user friendly Yest is once you sort of learn the ins and outs of it. So if you click this OneClick Install here, it will open up a dialog telling you, do you want to open this with Yest, the OneClick Install? So we're going to click OK. So at the moment we've already got it installed, so I'm not going to run it through, but it's a very simple process. Just click next and follow the directions it tells you, and then it will take a minute, maybe less, and then after that it's done, and that package will be ready to go, all installed on your desktop. And although it's a community package, I've had no problems with it. It's run absolutely fine throughout my time with it. So now that we've come to the end of my time with openSUSE, we can show you the snapshot tool without fear of losing anything. So let's jump into the Yest file system snapshots, and we're going to go back to this one here, which was made on the 4th. So let's go and see how this all works. So let's show changes. I wonder how much has changed since then. We shall see. It's taking a little while to calculate it. Right, so there's 72 things there. So the boot stuff's all changed, ETC's changed. Got TeamViewer there that we installed using just the RPM install through Yest. Okay, let's restore. What shall we restore? Let's choose something nice and easy. Let's go for, I'll tell you what, let's go for TeamViewer. So where's TeamViewer? Let's get that checked. And now let's press restore selected. So these files will be removed from snapshot 72. So that's going to remove etc TeamViewer and etc TeamViewer global.conf. Files existing in the original snapshot will be copied to current system. Files that did not exist from the snapshot will be deleted. Bang, so let's do that. Very nice, very easy, and that's been done. So obviously it's a bit more complex than that. You could sort of do a lot of larger sort of restore points, and a lot more things might be deleted and removed. Okay, so my final thoughts on openSUSE Leap. It's kind of a weird one to me because this distro doesn't get as much visible praise in the wider Linux community as some of the other main distributions out there, which is strange because it's been going for over a decade. I think it was originally released in around about 2005. So I've used it for everything that I need a desktop operating system to do, and it's managed everything particularly well. So throughout my time with it, I found it snappy and responsive and very stable, and it's powered through every task that I've had to throw at it. It would have been nice to see some more recent desktop versions like GNOME 3.36 in particular, for it to more compete with some of the other distros out there, like Ubuntu 20.04 and stuff like that. But that's a very minor complaint, and if you want a more up-to-date package set, there is also Tumbleweed that you can try. So if you're looking for a change from the whole Ubuntu / Debian based distros, I'd definitely recommend you give openSUSE a try. It's a really good distro. I've really enjoyed my time with it. Thank you for watching. There will be a written review where I'll sort of go point by point about things and new features and stuff, but for the most part, that's been openSUSE Leak 15.2. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.